talking about the road to WrestleMania here. Raw and SmackDown, heavy on the main event angles for both Seth and Brock, which is assumed to be the match, and then Ronda and Becky, though, like we've been talking about for a while now, Charlotte is still in the mix, and based on the angle from SmackDown, she's going to be in that match. So I guess the first question for you is, why do people hate the Charlotte thing so much? Like, I can understand if you just sort of dislike the idea that they're, you know, you like WrestleMania main events to be one-on-one, and adding her is, you know, they're over pushing her or whatever. I get that opinion. I think it's a fair opinion. But why such rage? Like, I see people like defending the idea of Ronda versus Becky as the ultimate match, like, to their death. Like, it's kind of ridiculous to me.
I think people really want the purity of like a one-on-one main event. They don't want a multi-person match, you know, multi-woman match. They want just to focus on Becky and Ronda, and I get their point, you know, but I don't think putting Charlotte in is a bad thing. I think it improves the match. Charlotte is really good, far superior in the ring than both Ronda and Becky. She keeps it going straight, in my opinion, you know, and then, you know, as we saw, like, on this past week of Raw, we'll talk about later, I mean, Ronda has her weak points, and she didn't have a really good performance on Raw, and she's also, far, her performance has been really good, but, you know, I'm not against it. I like Charlotte. I think there's a reason why she should be in that match. They have plenty of time to put her in there, or they could just decide, hey, let's go with Becky and Ronda one-on-one. Then that's fine too. But I have a feeling that they really would like, you know, in their New York market, you know, to get the media, not the wrestling media. I'm talking about the media that doesn't normally cover, the major media that doesn't normally cover wrestling unless there's some kind of controversy. You know, they like to fluff up WrestleMania stories, and having a Flair in there, because everyone knows her father, Ric Flair, the legendary Ric Flair. You know, I think that's marketable, especially in New York. So, I don't know why people are so upset about it, but they are. I think but don't worry. I mean, Becky's still gonna have her arm raised at the end. She's gonna hold the belt up. She's gonna beat Ronda, and not Charlotte, because, you know, they have to have some kind of a challenger for Becky coming out of that.
Okay, so I was on Wrestling Observer Radio last night, and I think Big Dave pretty much disagreed with me with this point, which is, if we go back the last 3 WrestleManias, crowd has been pretty hard on the match. Roman Reigns against Triple H, deservedly so, because that match kind of sucked. Roman Reigns and The Undertaker, for what The Undertaker is at his age, pretty good match for what you may have thought. Not necessarily a great main event. And last year, finally, Roman Reigns and Brock to sort of blow off that entire thing. And some of it was the surprise of Brock winning and Vince wanting to keep people guessing and all that. But also not necessarily the match that fans, the live crowd, that heavy, minority voice that WWE has to listen to, because historically they've listened to their live audience, and just vociferously disagreed with all of those 3 matches and where they're going to go and why was Roman in there. So the last 3 years in a row, unhappy crowd for the main event. My worry is the story's out. Ronda is probably not going to be a full-timer post-WrestleMania. So that's out there. The smart fans are are going to know that. They will probably let her know. And I really worry about her performance in that match. She's a great athlete. You know, she has an ability in front of large audiences that almost nobody in that company has when it comes to like main eventing stuff, right? Like she main evented a show in with Holly Holm was it in Melbourne?
Mm-hmm.
And,
exactly.
You know, I don't know, was there 50,000 people there, whatever, right? So there's the pressure. It was on her back. She understands how to deal with it. In a sport she is very comfortable with. Now, in pro wrestling, she's technically still a rookie. She will still be, you know, it'll be the first anniversary of her very first match at WrestleMania the previous year. So I'm just not sold on the idea that Ronda versus Becky is going to be a good enough match for that crowd what does Daniel Bryan call it? Fickle, the fickle crowd. And now what may happen is the crowd may try to save that match, right? They may try to make it better than it is, that may happen too. But when you add like the risk is lowered to me of them not having a good match when you add Charlotte to the mix. It's a gimmick, right? Like you have something to help I don't even know what you'd call it, but Ronda's matches are very formulaic. They're good. They're very good, but every match so far that she's had, save for I believe it was the Alexa Bliss match, is very similar. She starts out hot, heat's on her, she sells forever, come back, great win. Like that's the style. And look, that's been a babyface style in WWE for the longest time, right? That's essentially Hulk Hogan formula match. So if that doesn't work, I don't know what the plan B is, right? Because they build matches today to what they think should be the match for that audience. And, you know, we talked about this prior, which is if they need to audible, they just don't necessarily do it because they don't want to stray from the match that they believe is what's going to work. And so I'm a little worried about that. You know, can you have a one-on-one match? It's going to be physical, yes, but to an extent, you can't, you know, nobody's blading, you know, you can only do so much with the gimmicks of getting the crowd involved with steel chairs and stuff. But you add a third person who's Charlotte, who could do a flippin' mean moonsault off the top rope to the floor. That changes the game for me, and it makes it almost risk-free of them not having a good match. I think she just adds so much more to the match and alleviates my fears that they may not have a great match. I don't see the downside. I just don't see the downside. I don't even see, like, to me, Charlotte and Becky, it just has more. It just has more. I don't want to say fail because that's me being really hard on them because I don't think they're going to fail. I just worry about that main event slot with that crowd, and one thing goes wrong, and how do they come back from it? And I think adding a third person who's as good as Charlotte, you're having constant action. There's no dead spots because it's going to be, you know, Charlotte or Ronda and Becky to start. And then something happens. And then it's going to be Charlotte and Becky and Ronda selling. And then all of a sudden, Ronda and Charlotte are going to double team Becky. And she's going to be even a bigger baby face. And then she's going to hit her comeback. And, like, I just don't see a way that match could fail. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just, you know, maybe I'm out of it. Maybe the whole thing has moved on for me. I don't know. But that's just my feeling on on adding her. I don't see how they can go wrong.
I mean, I don't see it as a negative. You know, people are so passionate about against it, just wanting a one-on-one between Becky and Ronda. I just, I get it, but I don't see it as a negative if you have Charlotte in there. Like she fits the story. She fits the story with both women. She fits the story with Becky for sure, and also it could lead into more between Becky and Charlotte post WrestleMania, because you're going to need something, because Ronda will finish up at WrestleMania, take some time off for how long, who knows, and unless they can extend her, get one more pay-per-view out of her or something like that. But I think in the end at WrestleMania, the people are going to be happy because Becky's going to get their arm raised. It goes to get her arm raised. I think that's that should happen. And from what we saw at the Royal Rumble, I think the WWE is listening to their audience when it definitely comes to Becky. So I think in the end it'll be fine, and I think the three women will have a great match, and I think a 3-way really hides Ronda's weaknesses and hides Becky's weaknesses, and Charlotte could bring out the best of both those women. So,
and I guess I would say that if it now this is again I'm not trying to be negative, but if it was Charlotte against Ronda, I would feel much more comfortable of them being able to main event WrestleMania 1-on-1. And it's mostly because I just think Charlotte is really good, and I think Becky is solid. Like, she's okay. She's not the same level athlete. I don't think it's as instinctive to her, but she tries really hard, and you can see with her character. I mean, on SmackDown, she's selling that knee the whole time, and I'm like, wow, like that was good stuff. Like, I really enjoy the character. I just don't know if I like her in the ring as much as I like her outside of the ring, which, look, that's fine, right? Because that's historically been how you draw in wrestling. It's not necessarily always between the ropes. It's kind of how you sell yourself outside of the ropes. And if she was actually drawing ratings-wise, TV ratings, then I would, probably be a little bit less sort of thinking that this isn't, that this is the right business move. But she's not moving TV ratings for whatever reason. And, I'll bring this up again, but my buddy Wade, who was at the show, said he thought, now this is a guess, right? Like, he isn't counting, but he's just looking at stuff. And he said he thought that there were more Ronda shirts than Becky shirts 5-1, and more Sasha shirts than Becky shirts 3-1. So, I mean, that doesn't say everything, but it gives you an idea about, what's really going on. Now, Becky's getting great fan reaction. When we were in San Jose at that the TLC show, she got the best reaction. Like, it was really clear that the fans just love her shtick live. And I when I was sitting there, I really wanted to hear it live. I was like, okay, that's like, I mean, it's not Austin, but it's the best that you're going to get today for sure. So,
you said it earlier, like, you have to look at the ratings. She's not really moving ratings or improving ratings, right? House show business, there's no jump in house show business with her. Like, people are not flocking and buying tickets to see her. Like, she gets really good reactions on TV and on pay-per-view. It's just, she's hot, but not as hot as people seem to be thinking when I read stuff online about her and stuff. But I'm a big Becky Lynch fan, so I'm happy that she found this character and she was able to create it and take it, and the writers got behind it, the machine, the WWE got behind it. So, like I said, it's all gonna work out in the end. WrestleMania, she's gonna main event it, and she's gonna have her arm raised with the belt, and it's gonna be, a big moment that they're gonna be talking about for years and years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think some of the Charlotte flack is just that people feel like she is the WWE machine, like she's the forced superstar, sort of like Reigns? I don't sense that from her, because I just think that she's heads and shoulders outside of Asuka. I think she's heads and shoulders above the rest on either brand.
I think. I mean, they shouldn't hate her because she worked hard and she improved quickly and took to wrestling like a fish to water. Developed her character unique to herself. Even with it's hard to be a second generation wrestler, especially with a dad of a legendary caliber, Ric Flair. I mean, it's very difficult for second generation wrestlers to even be to their father's level. And she's created her own legacy, and she's doing really well. If she's not, I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, if you had best in ring, it would be Asuka, but like Charlotte is right behind her when it comes to that, at least on the main roster right now. So I think people shouldn't hate her. Just like I never understood the Reigns hate, because he had a guy that was such a hard worker and always put on really good matches. It's just people like get upset about the machine, but like I always like listen, folks, the machine got behind Hulk Hogan and you loved it, right? The machine got behind Stone Cold Steve Austin and you loved it. The machine got behind The Rock, etc. Everyone that's featured on their television that's in a pushed position is featured by the machine. So relax. I mean, there's certain reasons why certain guys aren't pushed the way they are. And I know people want to force it, but like there's a reason. There's certain levels, and Charlotte's top of that list when it comes to the women's division. So there shouldn't be no hate against her at all.
And that we're going to talk about this from now until the big show. So I'm sure as the weeks go by, there will be small changes to the angle and to the story, and we'll see Charlotte introduced into this match. What did you think of the face-off with Becky and Ronda? Because people really, really loved that, and it was almost like, see, this is why it has to be one-on-one. Like, this was so good. I really just want to see this match. What did you think of that segment?
I thought it was pretty good. I liked the fact that Ronda's promo did not sound like a wrestling promo. I mean, she quickly talked and was angry, and it wasn't like she was making the pauses and like the stupid like, okay, now it's your turn to talk. I'm gonna say something. It was just like she said what she had to say, and she was like, I'm gonna kick your ass and bye. I don't know if she was frustrated about the booing.
I think she had to have been.
I mean, through her career, she's tend to get upset about that stuff. But I mean, I don't understand if she would be, because I would say like, hey, like if I was Vince, I'd be calling her like, they're most likely going to boo you because Becky is like very popular. The fans want Becky, so don't let it bother you. So I don't, maybe she just can't get over it. I don't know. Maybe she didn't even care about it. We don't even know, But I kind of would have done it differently. I was kind of thinking like, it was cool. They had a surprise. They talked about Becky's going to announce it on SmackDown, but then she comes out and confronts Ronda. What if Becky came out later as a surprise, not to confront, but she's out there like, I'm not going to wait. No one's going to tell me what to do. Like she's kind of being the man, a la Stone Cold Steve Austin kind of gimmick. Like I do what I want. I'm going to make my choice right now, and or I'm here, and she's kind of like dragging out just a tad bit. And all of a sudden, Ronda just comes out, boom. And Ronda's the one that says, you're going to fight, you're going to fight me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and maybe that would get Ronda cheered that way, a little bit. Not like necessarily booed, she still probably would have been booed, but at least it'd get Ronda some, I don't know, just showing Ronda some guts, coming in and challenging Becky instead kind of thing. Okay. I thought that had a cool twist of it.
You know what line I didn't like? Was Ronda's end line where she said something to the effect of, essentially what she said was, if this was real, I would just kill you. That's what she essentially said. And I don't want her to go there, because you're basically saying that wrestling's fake.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, I didn't see a lot of people give her much flack for it, but I thought that was a bad line for this segment, because in the back of my mind, this is the problem that I have with Ronda as a pro wrestler, which is I watch her fight, and I watched her intimidate these women to the point of that they didn't stand a chance until she lost, obviously. Mm-hmm. But so when you have Becky Lynch getting in there, and look, Lynch was great because I'm thinking like, wow, if I was standing next to Ronda, and Ronda's got that mean face, and she is so disturbed by this crowd, and she looks like she doesn't want to be there, and she just wants to like punch something. Becky kept the perfect face. I thought that was actually the best part of the whole segment. But just when I watch these matches, I'm like, okay, like Ronda's a great performer. But when Becky says she's going to break her arm, I go, oh, okay, come on now. Like, we all know that that's not going to happen. It would never happen. It would never happen in a pro wrestling match. It would never happen in real life. So why don't we not say that? How about you just, you're not going to outfight Ronda. You can out-wrestle her because this is your domain. So I don't like that part of it because it's just, I cannot suspend disbelief in that way. But otherwise, I liked it, and I think what's going to have to happen for Ronda is it's going to come to a point where she's going to have to raise her game a little bit. And I think Becky can definitely get that out of her. I think Charlotte's going to be able to get that out of her. And I want to see her get to that next level, right? Because her promos are hit or miss, I think. There are some nights where she's really on, and there are other nights where she stumbles over stuff and she's trying to remember, and I think they kind of have cue cards for her in the corner and she's staring off to the side, or maybe I'm like thinking that that's the case, and that may not be the case, though it was surely the case for AJ Styles on that New Year's show that he did when he was talking to Vince and Shane. He was clearly staring at some cue cards on the side. But I think she's going to have to raise her game because she's going to get out promoed, and that's part of the crazy reactions, I think, by the Becky fans, which is they know that Becky's kind of going to eat her lunch at this stuff. And so, like you said, they need to put Ronda in better spots so that she doesn't get her lunch eaten. And but what I hope is that Ronda is like, okay, now it's a game time, and she just gets a little bit better at it, and just sort of spirit of the moment, and like you said, like you could tell she kind of got mad and stopped stumbling and just like didn't just cut her off, and that's when she's really good, right? So that's my hope for the whole thing. And
I think I would like to see them just. Yeah, I know they have this. Unfortunately, they got these 2 pay-per-views coming up, which kind of throws a wrench into some of the stuff. Because what do? Do you have Ronda on every show? But I think maybe you can hold off Ronda and Becky from Fastlane unless you did like an official contract signing or something. Oh, that's so tired of those scenarios. We all know what's going to happen in those scenarios. But what if they just like at the end of February? They just go in like training mode, and you do like the Brock and Rock stuff from SummerSlam, where you just show them training. Ronda's training, Becky's training to, not get armbarred. Ronda's, finding out ways against the disarmer, and just, she's training with Shayna and Natty and Jess and Marina, and then you have Becky, training with, I don't know, Cyborg or something like that. I don't know. Like you could do you could do a lot of cool shit with that. I mean, those training videos really do work. I mean, I remember that. I mean, when Brock and Rock happened, I mean, Brock was still new, right? I mean, he was a phenom. Like you thought, like, oh man, this guy is something. But like those videos really pumped you up for that match, So I think that's what I would do.
That I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, because fans have short memories about stuff like this, and The Rock got booed in that match, right? Like, this is not the first time that stuff like that has happened, where the fans just sort of tell you what they think, and part of that is Brock was made to feel like the new hotness, and they kind of booked The Rock like he was on his way out. So again, my worry about this Ronda thing, which is when they position WWE is positioning these folks to make the person who is going to be around and who is going to be the champion to look strong. You know, the whole WrestleMania 12 thing, Shawn and Brett, where Brett was like, Shawn looks like $1 million doing all this training, and they shoot videos for Brett, making him look like slow and old and doing like really boring stuff. And that's because, that's how they wanted to present it, like the new guard. And so that's what I'm sort of worried about too, is just, Ronda is not going to be booked stronger than Becky. They may be booked evenly, but at the end of the day, if Becky's going to be the one to stay, that they're going to want her to look stronger in the build-up too. So we'll see. I'm speculating on some of this because I just know what has happened in the past. But I think we're going to keep our eye on it and week after week, like I said. So we won't kill all of it right now. So let's move on to Seth and Brock, because they didn't really do too much. So we'll just talk about it a little bit. But they did the segment at the end where, Seth got his ass kicked, and it was just like, it was almost like. I thought it was okay. I kind of wondered a little bit, like, where do we go from here? Does Seth now have to beat Braun Strowman? How do you build? What are we building him up for? Because we just saw Brock just destroy him and leave him, and he's just like, I'm gone. I'll see you in a month or whatever.
I thought it was a big mistake to have him get his ass beat in the first confrontation like that. I think he should have been smart. He should have been quicker. He should have ducked out of stuff. He should have, bailed out of the ring. Not like scared, but like, F5, he pops out of it, leaves Brock steaming in the ring, looking at him like he's going to get him, and he should get him at some point. But I think that was a bad move, because now we have 2 months of this crap. We got to, he definitely needs a curb stomp Paul Heyman before WrestleMania. I would definitely book that, where he gets something, Brock does something, Brock goes for something, he low bridges him, Brock takes a bump outside, Paul Heyman's maybe on the apron close by, he pulls him in, gives him a stomp, and then he lays out Paul Heyman right in front of Brock Lesnar, or something like that. Something needs to happen to where you gotta show Seth can defeat him, I think the proof is like showing him faster, showing him quicker. Like Brock can't keep up or something, But finally, Brock does get him at one point and gives him that, 5 F5s. I think that should happen closer to WrestleMania than right out the gate. And I didn't like how they presented Seth after he won the Rumble. I didn't like the whole thing with Triple H kind of giving this pump up like some rookie. I felt like, I don't know, your dreams, my dreams. That just didn't fit.
Yeah.
It did not fit. And what's up with all the beards going on right now? You had Dean Ambrose the beard, and Triple H the beard, and Seth Rollins with the beard. It's Beard City in WWE right now. And it just that promo just did not work. I just much rather have Seth right at the back. Just, people wanted to call it Brock. Just do it right then and there. Do it in the first segment, I just thought that was kind of silly. It was also kind of strange, too. I'm going to talk about Raw, but I would think Seth's next program was going to be Lashley from what happened at the Rumble, but Lashley is moving on to Finn Balor, so who does Seth program with, going forward? Is it Braun? I don't think so. I think they want to keep Braun a babyface. And is it Drew? Drew seems to be programmed with Braun, so... Is it Baron Corbin? That's not going to do any favors.
Nope.
I really like Baron Corbin, actually. It's just he's not that hot as a heel to keep Seth busy. So that's going to be a tough call. And this is what happens when no one is really over.
Yep.
And people are just all at the same level, so or below that. So. That's a tough. Dean could be perfect, but don't really want to see it too much of it. But like Dean would be that guy that he can feud with until then a little bit. But then they already announced that he's leaving. WWE's already kind of. Well, they acknowledged it, and also They had a match on Raw, which we'll talk about, and I have a lot to say about that match. But so who do you put him with? I was trying to think of the heels on the Raw side. It's Drew, but he's with Strowman. Corbin seems to be with Strowman as well. Like Lashley's with Finn. Who do we have?
Nobody.
Yeah.
There's nobody. I mean, we saw in the Rumble where we were just like waiting to get to 30 and just going like, wow, there's like very little depth from a really good wrestling working standpoint. There was a lot of depth, but from a star power aspect, there was not much depth. Actually, let's talk about Dean, because that's kind of the big news. Is that I think it was PW Torch and maybe PW Insider both talked about it a little bit, or maybe first reported it, which is that he is not renewing his contract once it expires after probably around WrestleMania time. And then WWE goes and publishes an article on their own website saying the same thing. And why would they even do that? It's kind of silly to me. But I mean, I have some ideas as to why, but it just didn't fit what they usually do, so it was kind of weird. But what did you think about the whole, Seth and Dean complaining about Triple H, and then Dean getting dumped out of the ring by Nia? Like, I mean, if he was if you didn't know he was leaving, you would have thought, wow, he's getting punished for something, because that's what I thought.
Yeah, when I saw the match and his performance in the match, I saw a guy that didn't care. Which was surprising to me, because he's working with Seth, who's his friend. You would think he'd want to work hard and push Seth over strong, but like he was working not as blatant as Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan for SummerSlam, but damn sure it was close. I mean, he was like, I thought he was out of position for a lot of stuff. Like, there's one moment, like, in the match where he's, like, literally just standing there waiting for Seth to do a dive out on him. Like, it looks stupid, because, like, if you're trying to make people suspend disbelief, like, why is that guy just standing there waiting for this other guy to jump out of the ring? Like, wouldn't you just move out of the way or get back in the ring and start fighting? And then, like, the curb stomp finish, like, Seth does his leg stomps like Shawn Michaels, like Sweet Chin Music, and like Dean is just waiting for him bent over. It's not like he took something major to set that up. It was just like, I thought it was poorly timed, and then all this comes out, and I'm like, yeah, he just obviously doesn't care right now. And then they had Nia give him a little forearm shiver to the back, which is what I thought was pretty funny. I thought they were actually building to that match at that point. I thought they were building to a Nia versus a man, and Dean would be the guy. But I guess I'm not sure that's really going to happen. That could be a way to write him off, maybe they'll do something like that to kind of embarrass him on the way out. But Dean's just not happy. He wants to have fun again, apparently, and we'll see him on the indie scene, and we'll see where he goes. I can see him going to AEW. I can see AEW wanting him. He's a recognizable name. I think he'd be someone they should get. Maybe Ring of Honor. Definitely would love to have him. So New Japan, maybe, you never know, for their U.S. stuff. So,
as you know, because we watch a lot of these shows together, I'm not a Dean Ambrose fan. I think the act is really stale. The lunatic fringe is ridiculous to me. His gear, never liked his gear, and as a solo outside of the Shield, I thought it was clear that he was the third best guy. And, look, Seth and Roman are great, so to be the third best out of that group, there's no crime in that, but I thought they both overshadowed him to an extent. So that's where my bias is, so that's kind of, when I talk about him, that's kind of where I sit. So I get people who get frustrated But like you said, showing it in the match, and then in the Rumble too, right? Because he gets dumped early in the Rumble.
Yeah, he takes that funny bump when Alistair knocks him out, almost like a Shawn Michaels comedy, this is all goofy, blah blah blah,
And so there's a thing about being professional and all that, and some people will say, well, who cares? He's frustrated, and I get that, but when I would call him, based on what was sold and what his ceiling was, I would say that his singles run has been pretty much a disappointment. And he got hurt, sure, but I just harken back to how he handled the Brock match, right? Because Brock wasn't going to do anything. Brock had a UFC show coming, so Dean was just like, well, I can't do anything with the guy, so why do I really care? And then the thing with Austin in that interview, which essentially killed the Stone Cold Austin podcast on the WWE Network because that show was so poorly received. And from everything that I've heard, probably Dean's fault, maybe even 100%. So, I mean, I'm just like, okay, like instead of Dean cutting bait with WWE, it's almost like addition by subtraction to me. Now, he's got star power. They put money into him. He sells merchandise. Great. But I never saw him, I guess, in the way that they see him. So,
yeah. I'm with you. Like people, I see people on Twitter and they're like, man, everyone wants to leave WWE and, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, you know what? Losing to Ambrose, no big deal.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like, he wasn't he didn't move ratings. He didn't move house show business. His shtick is old, and I mean, he's a good wrestler. I mean, I like some of his matches, not all of his matches, but I like some of his matches. It'd be nice to see what he does on the indies, though. Let's see him reinvent himself there and see what he got. So,
and I guess the comparison is Cody, right? Because Cody was unhappy. Cody wasn't being pushed either, though Dean was still being pushed fairly highly on the card. And Cody found his love again and is just having the time of his life doing what he's doing. So maybe that is the end game for Dean. And if so, great. Like, find that love again and, go out and do what you want to do. I'm all for that part of it. Yeah. I'm just not for the part of where I think he's been sort of an underachiever and he did not go out the way that, you want to see these guys show their frustration or whatever. But then again, maybe that's how he felt he had to do it, was to show, like, he had to be demonstrative in his feelings in that way. Anyway, so the only other thing that I want to talk about before we end the Road to Mania segment, we won't go over Raw and SmackDown all the way through quite yet, because a lot of the stuff that they're building is building for Elimination Chamber and Fastlane. Once we get post Fastlane, we'll probably be running down most of the stuff on Raw and SmackDown. But the only thing I want to talk about was the Elimination Chamber main event, which is Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles versus Randy Orton versus Mustafa Ali versus Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe. Now, I thought originally that they were going to have the winner of this match become the number one contender, but that's not what it was. Daniel Bryan is in this match, so it's just a title defense for him. What do you see happening for WrestleMania with the WWE title?
It's a tough one. I would have preferred them not to be in this match.
Me too.
To be on a high perch somewhere, like, watching these guys kill each other, get this title shot. So, I mean, he has to survive. All these guys retain it. Does he really go into WrestleMania as champion? I mean, he's doing really well as a heel champion right now. I kind of like to see him continue it. I mean, I feel like this AJ Styles program will be old by then. So, who in there would you like to see him wrestle?
You know what I'm worried about, and I'm going to sound like such a hypocrite because I'm pro Charlotte in this three-way. I'm feeling Bryan, AJ, and Orton in a three-way. that's kind of like what I'm thinking that they are trying to set up.
Or they go with just Bryan and Orton. Go with Orton in that position. They could do that too. Or I can see it being a multi-man match. I can see even throwing Samoa Joe in there.
Yeah, maybe it's a 4-way.
I don't want to see don't want to see Hardy in there for sure. God no. Too bad it couldn't. Because Andrade's not in it, right? So
no, Andrade and Ray are not in the match, which makes me believe that they're going to do a singles, which I'm fine with because they've had some strong stuff together.
Yeah, but this thing is like with wrestling today, and it's been like this for a long time now. It's like with so many matches between the stars, like nothing seems fresh come WrestleMania. So unless there's a major stip for CN on Andrade and Ray, like what do they got?
Yeah,
it'd been nice to see Andrade or Ray and Daniel Bryan be fantastic, right? That would have been great.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe it ends up not being. Maybe there's some kind of twists and turns, and maybe it's a CN Almas and Ray match. It's a singles match that's not for the title, but all of a sudden Ray beats Daniel Bryan, and that match becomes the title match. Daniel Bryan and AJ in some kind of grudge match,
Yeah,
it's going to be. They have a plan, obviously, but it's curious to see how they execute it because I'm not a big fan of the Elimination Chamber. I love the match. Don't get me wrong.
Match is cool.
I just don't like it sandwiched between WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. Unless it is only specifically for the brand that doesn't win the Rumble sets up the future challenger. Like if that's just a standard, that'd be cool. But like the one Daniel Bryan in there, the champion to defend the title in it, I just don't like it at all. I think it just books you in a corner.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's the end of the Road to WrestleMania segment. Like I said, we're going to be doing these segments until WrestleMania in of itself.